Energy flowing.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Gauging that awareness, whatever you're wanting to call it, having that awareness, using that as the touchstone, the guidance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was interesting, Joseph. I had an experience yesterday I, where I've been wanting to do this project in my front yard. I have this like side of my front yard that it just isn't appealing to me anymore, and I wanted to change it. And so I asked somebody, a landscape person, to come over and kind of give me an estimate. And she gave me an estimate, and then I looked at it, and I looked at the number. And I thought to myself, okay, well, that's probably a bigger number than I wanted to spend. But in that process of just looking at the number, I thought, what is it about this project that appeals to me? And the happiness of designing it, the beauty of what it will look like, the intention of seeing, colorful leaves on a tree in the fall, the neat, kind of focal point of the, way that I wanted to design it. It was very joyful and very happy and it felt very free. And I allowed that energy to come through more and more and more. And I realized that I had a choice, that I could look at the number and, kind of go, oh, or I could focus on what really was coming through for me as the enjoyable aspect of the idea and the concept. And so that's what I'm doing. It actually felt better. It felt clearer. It felt vibrant. It felt intentionally free and happy. It made me happy.
It
I was
is.
happy.
It is unconditional freedom in its
Yeah.
truest sense.
Yeah. And I realized that that's why the inspiration, if you will, to create that space anew came through me. It was for that pleasure, for that joy
And
in
that's
that.
not the end of it.
And that's not the end of it. It's not the end of it. No, I mean, I think that there's even more like to experience, right, through the whole process. And so I recognized at that point the power of my energetic focus in using my intention, using my emotion, and that really, in essence, almost everything that I experience can be done through that lens of, you know, there's happiness to be experienced here. There's beauty to be experienced here. There's freedom. There's clarity. There's, and it doesn't end. It keeps moving. But and so it felt really good to have that kind of awareness happening with the energy. And in fact, just knowing that this whole life, in a way, it can be construed in that way. The perspective of my life can be seen in that way, through that filter. And so that felt like a very big awakening that will continue to evolve as you indicate. So that door opened, and then which was lovely. And then this other thing then happened where my son came home the other day with a high fever. His throat was really hurting him. He had a headache, his body ached. And I was like, he's got COVID, or, he could possibly have COVID. And so, and my daughter freaked out, and I didn't really freak out, but I did call the doctor, and the doctor said, look, he's been out with people. He's been working. You've got to treat it as if it is and isolate. So we did that. Monday, he went and got tested. Today, he got his test results back, and he does not have COVID. Thank goodness. But at the same time, he's got these really like bad swollen glands, and I just feel badly for him, that he's so sick. And so, I called the doctor. I did what I could do. He went to the doctor, he's on antibiotics. But it was almost like, in a way, when this all happened, I found myself in this contrast of kind of feeling sorry for myself again, like, oh no, I just got through my mother being really sick and kind of dealing with all of that. And now here this is, coming up, and I'm kind of tired of this. And so I started, kind of playing that song. And I just wondered, like, how can I have that, that incredible awareness, that incredible, sorry, somebody's mowing their lawn right now.
Oh.
Um, how can I have that incredible awareness and sense of expansion about who I am and what, life is, and then like be in this vibe of also this kind of contrast of my son's illness.
You're leaving yourself out of all of this. In
I
other
am?
words, that's the sort of common bridge between those feelings of elation and then the physical experience. So you're in there too. And what are you doing? Are you sick?
No.
You're thriving.
Yeah. 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 And so, yeah. I am, and that's wonderful, and it's awesome, and I see things, through this beautiful lens. But yet, why do I feel like pulled into this sense of, um, like, oh no, I don't want to lose all my, energy to my son's being sick again or something. Like,
So
I can't understand how I
from
could
our
do that.
perspective, we see that you're not really letting yourself experience that energy fully. In other words, you have the awareness of it, but when it comes to integrating it into your life fully, there's still a little bit of a disconnect. And how that plays itself out is going to be unique, is going to be ever changing. So, what we're getting at here is you have the awareness of all of the energy, you have the awareness of your relationship to it, but then you also have all of these physical things going on. And in the sense that it is advised that you at times isolate yourself from the sickness, we want you to isolate yourself energetically every once in a while, just to refortify, to collect all of that energy within yourself. But you have to accept your own worthiness within that process. So, what does that look like? It looks like you having the realization of all of that wonderful energy, allowing it to integrate within this moment, and then staying stable in it while offering benefit to everyone around you. Because these people, the ones closest to you, have all sorts of intentions and desires and ideas regarding them. And that inner energy wants to, again, as it has many times in the past, portray through you to be of assistance. Now, will that
Mhm.
stop them from ever being sick again? Probably not. But does it mean that when they're looking for a solution, they have someone right there who's sort of radiating the energy of that solution? Absolutely. And it's a lot easier for them to recognize you when connected with that energy than it is some sort of nebulous idea. And so we want you to never take responsibility for what's going on within their experience, but take full responsibility in terms of your relationship with what's going on with them. And that's what this conversation is ultimately about. So, how can you maintain those feelings of elation when they don't know how to sort of get it all straightened out? And what you're acting as is a mediator. In other words, this is exactly this process here. We have one who's relaxed, we have the information flowing through, and there is a mediator, a medium, if you would, between those points of consciousness. And the same is true with you for them. They're asking for the assistance. You feel compelled to offer it. That's why you're still attracted to those situations. But it's about just maintaining your balance, which means in the very subtle stages, just noticing, is it getting any more tense? Are you starting to lose energy, as you said? Are you starting to drag a little bit? And as soon as you recognize that, that's when you need to quarantine yourself energetically enough to get your reserves back flowing clearly, and then you can go and offer it. But There is no benefit to anyone of you taking their creations, their experiences on as your own. It
Yeah.
makes them feel disempowered in the long run. It may calm them a little bit, falsely so, but in the long run, they become dependent on you.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's not good for you either, because you're not thriving to your full ability, and you're also not offering to them the breadth of a solution that's already being called forward through you.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. Yeah. I mean, as you're talking, I could feel that almost, I felt guilty about being able to hold the energy and see it from a higher perspective. But like, especially as a mother, I felt very like attached to my children. And when they're sick, sort of this instinct to just take over, right? Well,
Yes.
they're adults. They're adults. They're adults now. And they have their own souls, they have their own lives, they have their own, abilities. And I trust that. But I guess that there's this sort of sense of guilt that I'm not stepping in and making it all better, like when, I mean, making it all better in the sense, I hear what you're saying, allowing the energy to flow is actually making it all better.
It's
But
allowing it to get better in a sense. So it's all just sort of wordplay here, but you know what we mean.
yeah, I do. I do. Um,
You
excuse me.
spoke too soon.
um, I guess that there's a shift that I sense where, I'm not responsible for, their, as you said, their behavior and their illnesses. I'm responsible for my own. Excuse me. I don't know what happened there. Um, and I guess that maybe it's allowing them to see me as I truly am, not as just as projection of a, mother, like
Yes.
make dinner, fix it, kind of thing. And but it's that, yet that freedom, that sense of myself where I do find true freedom. So I guess that I kind of figured this out a little bit here. Um, the idea of clarity and freedom and kind of interacting with the physical forms and with the energy and kind of all allowing it to kind of blossom, if you will, kind of come together and be this incredible experience of joy. Um, so there's a conscious awareness that I've noticed, like intentionally feeling that, my life is um, this energy of source, that it is, that I am connected to the trees and, all these experiences and people in a positive way. Um, and that kind of my life is this sense of, freedom in um, what I choose to attach or ascribe to something. Like I ascribed to that initially, I ascribed to that project next to the driveway, that little piece of as a price. And really what it was, why I wanted to do it was not about the price, but that was like a default mechanism that I had kind of. And so when I realized what I was doing, or became more aware of the love and the beauty and the joy and the energy of, the whole process, it shifted, it changed. And I think that that is happening more and more as I look, at things in my life, which is awesome. Um, and I guess that it's such a different perspective in a way that it almost feels a little bit like, uh, is it real? I mean, I know it's real, but because it's not the same. So getting used to it, I guess there's a sense of getting used to it. Would you say that's? That's true.
So what do you feel that you're getting used to?
Kind of this more pervasive feeling of love and joy and peace as the norm.
You're getting used to it, yes, but you're also accepting it. And that's what we want you to sort of take away from this conversation the most, is that acceptance, the
Yeah,
worthiness.
yeah, the
Because when you
worthiness.
have that acceptance, when you accept the worthiness that is there, that is always being extended to you, then that naturally plays itself out as keeping, now it can be called boundaries, but naturally keeping that energy of the self held sacred.
Oh, I love that. The energy of the self held sacred. Thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah.
And we could say that a million times and there wouldn't be that emotional recognition. But when you do take it upon yourself to accept that, and acceptance means worthiness, acceptance means understanding that it's always going to be there, that is an eternal energy. When that acceptance is there, that is when it becomes a state of being. That's when you know when you've pushed yourself too far. That's when you know you're depleting your energy. That's when you know when you need to go recharge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't happen all at once. So in the
Mm-hmm.
moment, you accept it as much as you can and you move forward as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I
So
think
it's not
that,
about the energy out there. It's a wonderful
right.
recognition. It's wonderful to identify it, and then you feel the recognition, is what you've been talking about. You feel that
Mm-hmm.
identification. You know that it's there because you feel it. And there's
Mm-hmm.
another to now merge with it. And that's the process that we've been talking you through time and time again. It's just bigger now. It's just more expanded. So the energy is ready for you. And you know that because you felt the opposite of it. You felt the outer limits of it. You felt the pain of not quite having it yet, whether it is that abundance or not having solutions to offer to those closest to you. Both of those experiences are symptoms of having a new state of being, a new experience that exists energetically that you just haven't quite integrated.
Mm-hmm.
So now the idea exists. It's just about allowing that integration. And what we
Mm-hmm.
feel from you is some of the beliefs coming up that are preventing that integration is a lack of understanding of your own worthiness. And that word even is so loaded that we don't even want to use it. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it is an understanding that just because you've reached an outer limit doesn't mean that there is not going to be another one on the way and another after that and another after that. So we're always wanting to talk you into the understanding of the eternal nature of what's going on here, because we want that feeling of not being able to afford something to stimulate you. We
Mm-hmm.
want you then to think of all of the different exciting things that you could do to bring more money into your experience. And if that doesn't feel good, we just want you to think about what it would be like to have more money in your experience. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
the energy shifts. And that's when the new experience is on its way. So just accept that negative feeling as a
Mm-hmm.
touchstone. Take it as an indication that you've hit your outer limits. And that's a good thing, because now you get to have an even better life because you've recognized your outer limits. And now you get to have even expanded limits. So that negative experience, we want you to cherish it. We want you to accept it for showing you that there is now something new that's going to be called into your life. That, yes, maybe you haven't found the way to fully integrate it. No, maybe you have not found the energy quite yet. And that's something to accept. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
But now there's something much bigger. So the only question is, how can you get into harmony with that energy? How can you integrate that energy?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's already being called forth from you. The only
Mm-hmm.
reason you have not fully experienced it is because there are a couple thoughts, a couple ideas, a couple beliefs still going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the gulf. That's the only gulf that you have to cross.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
when you are able to drop those beliefs and the energy comes in and you resonate with it fully, then the actions start to flow, and then you're really off and running in terms of the physical experience. But you see how in the very act of thinking that something is too expensive, you've already boxed yourself into a lifestyle which will
Mm-hmm.
fulfill itself and has been fulfilling itself. And you may try to justify it to yourself through reason. In other words, you look at all the people in your neighborhood or you look at other people around and you compare yourself to them and you determine that, of course, this is 4,000, $10,000. That's just way too much. That's unreasonable for, and then you say, I mean, they would never do that, or I've never done it before. I don't know anyone who would feel comfortable. And all of that justification, you're digging
Mm-hmm.
yourself in deeper. Now, to what benefit? So that other people will agree with you, so that you have a story to tell, so that you can justify what's been going on before. That only gets you so far. And that's the outer limit that you're experiencing here.
Well, it's interesting because when it did arise, I knew I could sense that hesitation or resistance to to the number. And I was like, okay, I'm aware that I'm feeling this resistance to this number. And yet I know in truth that it's a number and that what's really behind it is all this energy of joy and happiness and abundance and freedom. And so I recognized my limitation, if you will. And at the same time, I also was able to shift into this place of more openness, of more acceptance, yes, and kind of the sense of let it be, let it grow, let it let it evolve, let it come. So I felt myself, moving past it in that sense. And there was this, beautiful opening to kind of focus more on the joy side of it. But I hear what you're saying about that being kind of like a bridge to cross, because it was definitely a bridge to cross. Um, and I'm not hung up on it. In fact, I recognize the work that I do, like thousands and thousands of dollars just pass through my computer every day because of, just the work that I'm doing. So in that sense, I'm not feeling like, um, there's a lot of like a number is too big. Honestly, it's just, as you said, my almost my frugality or something, kind of creeps in. Like, how could I spend, that kind of money on something like that? Is it really worth it? Is it, and maybe the question is, am I really worth it? That, you know, as you said, my worthiness. So,
So you can't convince yourself of it, but you
no, you can't.
will be convinced of it as you let the process unfold. So, what we're talking about and what you've experienced, and you continue to reaffirm and reaffirm and reaffirm and reaffirm, then allows that full merging with the energy to come. And then with that comes the realization. In other words, value is tied up within all of this. And we really just want you to be able to let that go. You're calling it frugality a little bit to that extent, but we want you to be able to just really just let all of that go. In other words, you go to the candy store and you're sort of looking around and everything is pennies and whatnot, and you don't think twice. You grab two of them, even if you're not sure if you're going to like it. And we want you to sort of take that and put a few zeros on the end of it and have that be a possibility within your consciousness. Because then when you do start playing with those ideas, they become more normal to you. And before you know it,
Yeah.
it's the new normal. And then you put another zero at the end of it.
Mm.
But it's all that inner game of just becoming a little bit more accustomed to it. So you started feeling it out. In other words, you didn't come onto this call justifying as to how can I get the money? I don't have enough money, and I hate the way this feels, and or any of that. You're doing it with the lighter touch, and as you maintain that sort of lightness about everything, it allows it to move so much more quickly.
Yeah, I like what you said about the sacredness of my life, my experience, and not because, it's like holy, but because, I am this unique expression. Each of us is this unique expression of God and this you know, incredible being. And I see that, I can see that so easily in other people. Like I can see, like, yeah, sometimes maybe people rub me the wrong way, and so I don't have to pursue being their friend. But the people that um I choose to be with and want to be around, and am with work, like I can see incredible, like, just, I don't know, incredible beauty in them. And there is like a reflection in them of the sacred. I believe that, and of the divine. And so I guess that for me, it helps to kind of then start to see that. If I see that in everybody, then maybe I could see it myself. But I know what you're saying, that, seeing it in myself first and understanding that's who I am as well.
And even if you don't see it, just give yourself the opportunity to feel it a little bit. And you're not really going to
Yeah,
find it through other people. You'll see
yeah,
it reflected back to you. You'll
yeah,
recognize it. But
yeah.
in other words, we don't want you to sort of take on that. Now, the term having a positive attitude means all sorts of things to different people. And in
Mhm.
essence, that is what we are encouraging. But we're not encouraging achieving that state of being through saying all of the right things. So we don't want you to go forward and just say it over and over and over again, even if you don't believe it. We're not asking you to fake it until you make it. We're asking you to give yourself the time, giving yourself the moment
Mhm.
to let go of everything else. And then that
Mhm.
feeling will naturally grow. And as the
Mhm.
feeling increases, that's when you start putting words onto it. That's when you
Mhm.
start identifying it and relating to it. But we don't want you to go about it from the other way, because then if you're using words like worthiness, then
Mhm.
usually, although it sounds like a very harmless word, usually it brings dragging along with it all of the other concepts that have been associated with it. So you hear worthiness, but what you're
Mhm.
feeling, what you really hear, is worthiness because I'm not worthy and I have to get to that place of worthiness. And how am I going to get over to that worthiness? And I was born unworthy and I've been told I'm unworthy. So how the hell could I be worthy of anything? And
Mhm.
so that one word can set off all of those chains of reactions. And the same is true with words like money. We say money. We say money. It's a piece of parchment, a piece of paper, yes? But
Mhm.
it evokes within you all sorts of different reactions. The
Mhm.
same is true with the word God and all
Mhm.
sorts of different words. So we're not asking you to achieve the emotional state by saying all the right words, because the
Mhm.
right words can trigger all sorts of different reactions within you. And that's
Mhm.
far beyond what we think you need to ever figure out. You could do it, you could dissect it, you could break it up, you could understand the associations, you could take it back to your childhood and you can trace it. from every year going forward. But it's so much more effective and so much easier for you to just let all of that go. We call it a state of meditation, a state of receptivity, where you're just connecting clearly to that energy. And then the words come to you, and they come and they flow, and the inspiration comes and the new ideas come, and then the actions come on the heel of that, and you're following this path. And then you can look at other people's lives and say, I understand why they were using this word. I feel it too, but it's going to be meaningful to you. The words are maybe something that you use to communicate with someone else. The words are maybe something that comes and it gives you pleasure to write them down or to understand them. But the words, the phrases, the thoughts even are not the bridge to get to that state of being. You have to let it all go, just let that energy flow in, and then the next steps are revealed to you as you move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Joseph. I could feel that energy as you were speaking. It felt very peaceful, very beautiful. Yeah, so connecting with the inner energy, connecting with the energy, it does evoke the sense of, for me, it evokes a sense of peace and this love and, enjoyment. And it helps me to kind of um, move towards more openness to allow more of that energy to come through in various ways through me, through events in my life, situations, people, my relationship to, the day. So, um, yeah, so I hear what you're saying, and I know what you mean, and the worthiness around that. It isn't like I have to be worthy. It is who I am, and that's because it is who I am. I am worthy. So from that place, from that point, it makes a lot more sense to me than, as you said, trying to, kind of create it in the world in a from outside conditions.
Indeed.
Hmm. Okay.
Yes.
Hmm. I'm
When you
with you.
fill yourself up with that energy is value, that energy is content. When you feel that energy fill up, you feel your own value,
Hmm.
because that is true value, is the content of that energy.
Very good.
And as it fills you up and overflows, then you offer it to others and more of it is drawn to you. And that's when one would feel worthy, if you want to use that term, worth. Yes? Worth
Yeah.
equating to value, value equating even to currency in this sense, and that currency just being that expanding energy. So make that your priority. And then the symbolism is drawn to the energy. You're with us here?
Hmm.
The symbol is a word, it's a thought, it's a conception. It's working on your home. It's just a symbol for that. The dollars are just a symbol for the flow of that energy. But you can't make it about the representation. You can't make it about the manifestation. You can't make it about the physical experience. You have to make it about where all the worth is, where all the value is. And that's in the content of that energy.
Hmm. Hmm. There you go. And that energy actually manifests, or as it moves through me, through this form of me as physical human being connected with that energy, the feelings, the emotions are kind of the indication that it's um
It's working.
yeah, that's working. That's right. That's yeah. Yep. Yeah.
It's working, it's moving, it's present, it's
Hmm.
active, it's alive, it's conscious.
Yeah. And I guess that my looking outside of myself, for instance, to my son and daughter in this situation, um, I was separating that in a way. as you said, not integrated. So I think that sometimes, I segmented my life and um, the people in my life sometimes, but I think that now I'm understanding that this is more about, this experience of me is this energy being, um, no matter what the outside circumstances are, it's always me. It's always, I know that sounds silly, but this feeling of the energy is sort of, my core, my come back to truth place. Yeah.
And it provides value to them as well.
And it provides values to them as well. It's just not, that's not what it's about, but it just happens that way. Could be. Okay.
It's the fruit of that connection. Yes, it's been called fruit of the spirit, if you would. That's what you bear witness to in that experience.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. Great metaphor. Okay, well, so this is the path to freedom. This is the path of freedom, I guess.
This is connecting to the energy of freedom and then allowing it to reveal the path to you, and then following it as you're inspired to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, and I am worthy of that freedom. I am more than worthy because of as you said, the content of the energy itself.
It's not even a question.
Not even a question. Not even a question. Awesome. Thank you, Joseph.
Very much so. Anything else here?
No, that's it for tonight. Thank you.
We are complete. Hey.
Hey, Aaron. Lots of gems in there.
Yeah. I can't wait to go back and listen to that one.